Yes, sir. Welcome back to Talking Nets, episode 77. Like Georgie Muson, uh, I definitely butchered his name, but Iron Eagle gave him a shout out last night. The seventh or the 7-7 footer. This is Talking Nets. This is Keith McPherson, Hudson Flynn coming to you on a Thursday morning. I'm not gonna hold you, Hudson. I'm tired. I stayed up last night after a win. And I don't think I've ever been so mad after a win. I just was like really like tight about the officiating. And I stayed up and made that video when I text you. I was like, yeah, it's only going to take me like 30 minutes. It ended up taking me 90 minutes because as I was going through the footage, I was just getting more upset. Like, hold on, I got to show this. I got to stop this here. I got to make this video like clear that this was nonsense. But anyway, how's your morning? How was your night? Hudson Flynn, say what's up to the people.
Man, honestly, it sounds like it was better than yours. I was able to get to sleep at about 12:30, so I'm not I'm not complaining. I'm not in a position to be as tired as you are, but like you said, I mean, we're talking about one win on the back-to-back. Teams look kind of tired against the Heat, and then we played against the Hawks, a team that's kind of been our boogeyman a little bit. They're a hard team to beat. They can really pour it in from the outside. With Trae Young getting all these BS foul calls that that Keith, the last time he did one of these breakdown videos, did a breakdown about. Obviously, that did really well. And now we got more nonsense to talk about with the Hawks. And honestly, the Hawks are sitting at 9-9. They're kind of a team that I wouldn't want to face in the playoffs, just with the record that they've had against the Nets. But regardless of all that, I'm just excited that the Nets are on a 3-game winning streak. They only have 2 losses, those 2 against the Cavs since the Harden trade. We're sitting a game and a half out of first place in the East now that I'm comfortable enough to start looking at the standings. And honestly, I'm feeling it. And as Nets fans, you should be feeling it too, because this team is so thoroughly incomplete that we're not even close to what 100% of our full capacity is going to be. But we're also a game and a half out of first place with all of this turmoil and all these things that have gone on. So if you're a Nets fan, you should be pretty happy with the way things are going. But you should also know that changes are coming and things are going to get better.
Yeah, man. I was tired last episode on a Sunday night late, and now I'm tired on a Wednesday morning. But what did I say last episode? What was the title of last episode? Forget about it. Forget about those games against the Cavs last week. They're not going to matter. The big three just won 3 in a row. The scary hour stuff is starting to come together. We're starting to see them adjust. We're starting to see them gel. We're starting to see them figure it out. And the team is not the team. We've talked about this a bunch, and I guess we'll talk about it now. The Andre Drummond rumors, the JaVale McGee rumors, the Kevin Love rumors. So forget about the Cavs games, but let's talk quickly about the Cavs players before we get into last night's game. Like, do you think we're going to get Andre Drummond? I don't think the league is going to let that happen. David Stern is going to come out and step in between that one. Like, that would be a wrap, game over.
Yeah, I mean, there wouldn't be any holes on this Nets roster. Like it just wouldn't be fair. But no matter what though, that's kind of a long-term thing. That's an April type problem. We're sitting here at the end of January. When buyouts are going to happen. That's a long time from now. But trades can happen, and trades are probably going to happen. And I think our big guy Billy Reinhart, had him on the podcast a couple of times, co-hosted a couple of podcasts with him. He said that there's a 14-day deadline to get your roster up to the minimum amount of players that you can have on a team, which is 14 players. And we're recording this on Thursday, January 28th. The deadline is going to be the day that this comes out. That's going to be Friday, January 29th. So the Nets are going to need to make some moves just to become eligible to have a full complete roster just based on the rules of the trade. Now, they might get some exceptions, some things going certain ways just because things happen. It's the pandemic. It's harder to get players in. It's hard to give them physicals, all that stuff. But things are coming, and if it means the JaVale McGee trade, and that's just a stopgap measure, we send 1 second-round pick over to get him. That's a huge win because, like we said when we were on the Fireside Nets podcast, we went over and had a little crossover episode on their podcast. Go check that out. He's like another DeAndre Jordan. Like, he's not, that mobile. He's not that He's not that good anymore. He doesn't move his feet as well as he used to. But 2 DeAndre Jordans is better than 1. And that means that the actual DeAndre Jordan doesn't have to play 40 minutes a night, which is really the biggest win. And the other big win is that our guy had him on the podcast, Reggie Perry, no longer has to play as a center and getting big minutes a night versus some of the best players in the NBA, which I think is going to be huge for his development. Because honestly, when I'm watching him play, I see he brings that energy, but it's tough for him to bring that energy when he just doesn't have necessarily the facilities to match up against these great, all NBA level centers.
Yeah, man. Couple things. I'm gonna drop this episode as soon as we're done. It's gonna come out today, January 28th. I think it's J. Cole's birthday today. Shout out J. Cole and Rakim. But yeah, I'm gonna drop this right after we're done, so it'll be out before the deadline. And then, JaVale McGee, I see happening. Kevin Love immediately. I think I sent a tweet out. I'm like, we're supposed to get JaVale McGee and Kevin Love's contract. No. Andre Drummond, I know there's a lot of, I'm reading an article right now. There's a lot of rumors. It says, report, it's a matter of time until Andre Drummond secures a buyout and joins the Brooklyn Nets. And this is from CavaliersNation.com. They're basically assuming that, this is going to go down. What I'll say about it is, in Marks we trust, similar to in Cash we trust. I know you guys know the Yankee synergy crossover here. I think Cashman has done great this offseason as far as surprising Yankee fans, balling on a budget, working with less. I think Sean Marks has some surprises too. We know about Velpel coming through, but I think there's going to be some other guys that pop up and we're like, okay, there's the bigs we're looking for, because right now, relying on Reggie Perry, we're relying on Reggie Perry because we have no other options. He's a whole rookie, and I like the kid. He came on the podcast. We will always be in his corner just for coming on the pod and giving us time. But let's be for real here. He's not a center. And okay, let's start talking about the game last night. He shouldn't be getting matched up with Trae Young. He shouldn't he can't really stay with most of these guys. That's why he's getting into foul trouble early. And then last night's game, we'll go right into it. Boom. This Hawks game, it was such a frustrating game, and the Hawks are a good team. They've got size, they rebound. They were playing a back-to-back. They played the night before, dramatic fashion. Kobe, the anniversary of Kobe's passing. Also want to send a shout out to Kobe, Gianna, the Altabelli family, Vanessa Bryant, the girls, everybody in the Laker Nation, everybody in the basketball world. Obviously, we were all feeling that a week, and it's crazy to think it was a year. Hudson and I were doing a podcast this time a year ago trying to figure out how to actually talk about Kobe passing. But other than that, Reggie Perry, we shouldn't be relying on this guy as much as we are, but I am cool with it because we're throwing him into the fire. It's going to make him better. I think on the last podcast, I said this guy was getting DMPs, or maybe I said it on Fireside Nets. This guy wasn't getting a single minute. Now he's being relied on for double-digit minutes. He's getting in foul trouble. He's a mismatch. Other teams are seeing him, and he's looking like food. So we shouldn't be relying on him that much. Talking about this Hawks game last night, the Hawks give us trouble. We already mentioned the video that I made, and how the first video was about Trae Young drawing, little cheap foul calls with that little, stutter step, stop his dribble back into the defender move, which I hate. It's so annoying watching him get that off. But then last night, the refs were trashed from start to finish. The Hawks got to the line, I think 28 times. I think we got to the line 20 times, but the box score doesn't really tell the truth. They were fouling us late in overtime when the game was pretty much over. They got to the foul line early and often. We got into foul trouble. Reggie Perry, Bruce Brown, even Kyrie. Kyrie had his fourth personal foul and got teed up with 4 minutes left in the third. Those refs last night were trash. They had to be straight out of Atlanta, homegrown. And for me right now, looking at the big three, I'm like, oh, I see what's going on here. This is the Nets versus the refs, like the Yankees versus the umps. When you go from being the hunter to the hunted, these refs are two things, right? There's two types of refs that I've seen. Because in the Heat game, there was a shot where I think KD hit a three, but he clearly got fouled. And I'm like, yo, where's the foul call? So there's one kind of ref that's in awe of the game, right? That's in awe of the players. Oh my God, KD, Kyrie, and Harden on the floor right now. I got the best seat in the house. They're not calling the fouls because they're watching the game. Then there's another kind of ref, like we saw with that guy, John, last night. This dude is just calling a foul to just slow y'all down. This dude is just waiting to call a foul against the big three out of nowhere. This dude called a foul that he didn't even see. That loose ball foul call got me so tight, bro. I was up editing that video till 1:00 because I just kept going through clips and thinking, like, how does this happen in the NBA? Like, this guy should be either his pay docked or, I don't know, have to take a week off. He called that foul. That was not a loose ball foul. How can you, all right, a loose ball foul is supposed to be, when the ball's in the air and you're stopping a guy from going to get it. Kyrie was behind DeAndre Hunter. He like tapped into him and then fell back. This guy called that call. He barely even knew where to step and stand to call the call. He was out of bounds. It was a mess, bro. I'll pass it to you. I just wanted to get that off about these refs and that game last night. The officiating was trash. And the NBA's got to do better. Like, the NBA's got to do a lot better, because if we see this team in the playoffs, the big three dealing with those two kind of refs, the refs that are in awe and the refs that are just like biased haters, just trying to stop the big three from doing what they do, like, we're going to be in trouble, bro. The Nets have to beat the refs and the team they're playing against. And the Hawks are a decent team. Like, they didn't need any help. Wait till we have to match up against better teams in the East in the playoffs. And then it's like, yo, these refs are missing calls or not calling the right calls at all.
No, exactly. And it's just something that's not, like, you don't want to always complain about the refs. You don't want to say it's not fair, but Kevin Durant didn't go to the free throw line until there was 2 minutes left in the third quarter. Not once.
How?
Before the Hawks started fouling, the free throw margin was 24-10 in favor of the Hawks. That's more than double. That is ridiculous. That's not basketball. There's no basketball game that's played where that is what the foul margin is. Like, the Nets weren't playing like hack-a-shack on Trae Young. Like, that's just not, like, it's just not what was happening. And honestly, it's a shame, because that became the story of the game, when there was a lot of other things that we saw on that, we should be happy about as Nets fans. We saw James Harden from start to finish play aggressively and shoot the ball and really start to come into his own. And that's something that I think we should talk about just with these last two games, because we've seen James Harden go from, pass first, always defer, always third option, to now we're seeing him take control. We're seeing him break out the step back move more often. We're seeing all these things from him that we knew we were going to see, but we hadn't gotten the chance to yet, just because, he's trying to make a good first impression. He's trying to make sure, that these narratives aren't gonna take hold. But yesterday we saw him put up 31 points and 15 assists. Like, that's vintage James Harden. He was 2 rebounds away from the 31-point triple-double, and he was just in control the whole game. And Kevin Durant, he played so inconsistently in the first half and the first quarter. He was missing shots that you normally see him hit. Not easy shots, but, KD type shots. He finished the game with another 31 points with over 50% field goal percentage. And, like, it just, the way that these Nets play and can combine to just put up their own, these crazy individual stat lines, while also making sure their other teammates eat, is insane. And then we saw a new development, which I think might be my favorite development that we've seen from this Nets team, which is playing Kyrie Irving with the second unit. We have the ability to have an all-NBA player on the floor at all times, and we got to use that. And Kyrie was putting on a show. Like, that body control, like him going up, like with just these circus layups, like Hall of Fame difficult shots. I don't even know what else to say. Like, his body control and just the way that he can score and never get sped up and take contact is just ridiculous. And good thing he was able to hit those shots, because he was getting hacked, he was getting whacked, but none of it was getting called. And, even before we saw the whole, George Merjan situation where, there was he got teed up. Like, think about the frustration that's got to have when he gets called for that nonsense, but he's getting whacked and hacked on every time he goes anywhere near the basket, and none of that's getting called. So, like, it's just a shame it always has to come back to the refs. And it's just amazing that the Nets were able to prosper and succeed in the face of these refs And really, it all came down to the big three because other than Bruce Brown and our guy, Uncle Jeff Green, putting on the dunk contest all game, like there wasn't much from the bench. But man, I'll throw it to you. But can we talk for a moment about Uncle Jeff Green being maybe the best signing Sean Marks has ever made, just under the radar for free, essentially? Like, wow.
Steele, and that's KD's guy. Obviously, we know they go back. When we signed Uncle Jeff Green, I'm thinking he's gonna be like Garrett Temple or something for us, like a veteran presence. Nah, he's a beast. And yeah, what I say on the last spot, I said they call him Green because he's money. He can hit the three, and he's been I think the first time I saw him dunk in preseason, I was like, oh, Uncle Jeff, put your freakum dress on. Like, he gets up in your face. Boom on your head top. I love it, man. I mean, getting good minutes out of Jeff Green. I think he had 11 points last night. What else from the game last night? Off night for Joe Harris. He only had 6 and his streak ended last night. I feel like that might have been in his head. But I will say, you can always count on Joe late in the game to make a clutch play. You can always count on Joe late in the game to make a play without the ball, whether it's a defensive play, whether it's a rebound. He had one last night. He's solid like that. And I know he's not thinking about the streak. It's not really in his head, but it sucks as a fan because we just want to see it keep going. So Joe Harris start another streak. Bruce Brown getting minutes down the stretch. I like that. Bruce Brown being in the game in the fourth quarter when we're trying to lock things down, when we're trying to stop guys. Yeah, I appreciated him being in the game. So I think you accidentally said Kevin Durant had 31, which it doesn't matter. I'm looking at the box score. It was 32. I know somebody listening to the pod.
That is my apology.
Harden had 31. So
he split his last 2 free throws late when he got fouled at the end of overtime. That is my apologies.
Someone listening to the pod is going to be like, oh my God, he said KD had 31. He had 32. Hudson didn't even watch the game. DeAndre Jordan, I think DeAndre Jordan, he puzzles me, man. I think he is better because of the talent around him. I think Harden and KD and Kyrie and these guys make him look better because sometimes with these lobs and these putbacks, I'm like DeAndre Jordan, is turning back the clock a little bit. Kyrie, what I'll say about Kyrie in his 26, Kyrie only shot 3 threes. I'm not exactly sure if that is I think I heard Frank Isola say that. But I just know he was trying to get to the rack. You talked about Kyrie with the second unit. These guys are starting to figure it out. Kyrie isn't shooting as much. When Kyrie first came back from his leave, he was shooting everything. He was going in. And I think it was because it was I got to knock the rust off some kind of way. But now you're seeing these guys adjust. You're seeing a more of a flow and a rhythm to the game. There's still some issues on defense with communication. There's still some issues on defense with just matchups and stuff. But we are starting to click. I told you those games in Cleveland would not matter. The Nets are 12-8, and that was game 20 of 72 against the Hawks Wednesday night in Atlanta. Nets win it in OT. I didn't want to go to OT, but Nets win it in OT 132-128. I saw some lame on Twitter yeah, y'all don't play any defense. The Nets averaging the Nets defense averages 125 points against them a game. I'm like, yeah, factor in the overtime games. I think we've played 3 overtime games this season. That's, against the Cavs, we played double OT. You got to factor that in. That's extra minutes. All right, let's talk about the Heat game. So the Heat game 2, we talked a little bit about the first game against the Heat last episode, but let's talk about the Heat game 2, 19 out of 72. The Nets win that game 98-85. It was a lower scoring game, but that's expected, a back-to-back. The Heat were missing some guys like Jimmy Butler, Tyler Hero, but they played us tough. And I was happy to see us beat them. KD and Kyrie played great. I was happy to see us beat them because they are the reigning Eastern Conference champions. I know they don't, have their full squad, but it's good to see us compete against the top teams. We talked about playing up and playing down. We played up. We have been consistent with that. We know we're playing in Miami Heat. We know their pedigree. We know Bam is ridiculous. We know Sheen is going to throw up shots. We know Kendrick Nunn is nice. Oh my. Andre Iguodala, I have to give him a shout out just as an NBA fan. Andre Iguodala is too tough. That old man is not washed either. Like we talk about Jeff Green, never washed, but he's not new. Andre Iguodala is still balling. So what are your thoughts on the Heat game? 19 out of 72 that the Nets won, sweeping the Heat in that quick back-to-back series.
Yeah, there's like a lot of analysis that I feel like I can do. Low scoring game, miss a lot of threes, especially in the first half. We were able to play some good defense. Both teams held under 100 points, good stuff, missing shots, all that. I just want to take a moment to acknowledge Ian Eagle's greatness. That man has the most intense schedule of anyone ever to exist.
Yeah.
And he still comes out with new puns for these opposing players every game. They had Precious Achiuwa, Bronx native. Every time he did anything, we had, oh, achoo, or, oh, bless you, Precious Achiuwa. Like, it was Ian Eagle is just a master of his craft. And he doesn't even care anymore. Last night in that game, like, do you remember when he was calling out that guy with the crazy eyes in Atlanta?
Yeah, I saw you tweet that out.
He called out the guy. He said that guy's eyes were creeping me out all game. Listen, Nets fans, like, we're going to keep saying it, and I know you know it. We're just so blessed to have Ian Eagle as our commentator and to have the whole staff. Everyone's just killing it, top to bottom. And man, that's what keeps these games interesting. The Nets for so long have been a team that has struggled, has not necessarily put together a lot of wins since, before we entered this new era that we're in. But it's never been not fun to watch because we always got the GOATs, Ian Eagle, Ryan Rugo, Sarah Kustok, Michael Grady, Laviano, Ice, all of those guys up and down the roster. And I just love it. I'm just so happy to be a Nets fan. Just
for Michael Grady, Richard,
everybody, Richard Jefferson. There's too many names to name. Like, I'm just like
Nancy Newman.
Nancy Newman.
What's his name filled in last night from the Yankees? He usually does the Yankees. I can't think of his name right now. Bob Lorenz, like John LaGrace, like everybody up and down the roster. Like, man, it's just a great time to be a Nets fan. And like, that's what I'll take away from this, these games. Like, whatever, low scoring game, good win, fine. I'd love to put a win in the win column, especially against a team that has that pedigree, that has that experience. But I'm just having fun being a Nets fan. Like, every time KD, Kyrie, and James Harden step foot on the court, it's must-watch TV, and it's exciting. And we have the commentary team to back it up, and we have the bench to back it up, and we got all that organization just coming together for this one moment. And man, Keith, I'm just happy to have it. So here's the quotes, because I tweeted them out, and I misspelled Precious Achiuwa's name, but Ian Eagle says, Precious Achiuwa, nothing to sneeze at. Then he goes, "Oh, Achiuwa, bless you." Like Ian Eagle can do that, and then he also can make fun of the guy's eyes because he's Ian Eagle. He's the bird, like he's a legend. Like other commentators wouldn't dare say that. And even Sarah Kustok was like, I wish she could hear you. Like, what else about this game? So the Heat game, I will say we started off kind of slow. We started off actually very slow. That's the first thing in my notes. We started off 0 of 11 from 3. KD was 0 for 6. KD decided, I got to change these shoes. He switched from the Seattle Supersonics colorway to the New Jersey Nets blue colorway, and I think that helped. So he switched his shoes, and he said in the postgame that he stubbed his toe. But Kyrie also switched his shoes. I think Kyrie was wearing the Kyrobies, and he switched That's game.
Just some superstition. There's no.
Yeah,
no
I think there was some superstition in there. That's some basketball stuff. And then obviously with, it was the eve of the 1 year from Kobe's passing. We saw Kyrie come in with the Kobe jersey and he wore the Kyrobies. I'm glad we didn't play on the 26th. I'm glad we had that night off. But yeah, Joe Harris, that was the last game of his streak. He hit the first 3 to break us from our cold 0-11. Duncan Sheen Robinson, he was like 1 for 10 from 3. He killed them. He missed a bunch of threes. You know who wasn't missing though? Bam. I know you saw Bam and Kyrie exchanging jerseys in those 2 games. Kyrie wanted his like new Miami Vice jersey, and then Bam got the gray statement jerseys, which I sent out a tweet. I'm like, yo, we need to retire these gray jerseys. We've been smoked in these jerseys, and we got to win. Bam is serious though. I thought this game was strange because I saw Kyrie miss a layup, but the strangest things in this 2 games against the Heat, Bam hit 3 buzzer beaters, like the buzzer beaters you practice in your backyard, like 3, 2, 1. He hit 3 of them, and I'm like, that's just a strange basketball thing that doesn't happen. What else from this? I already gave AI his love. Iguodala too tough. Fourth quarter, that game was all the fourth quarter. In that Miami game, the second game, 19 out of 72. In the fourth quarter, we turned it on. And that is when I'm saying, like, yo, forget about those other games. In the fourth quarter, in winning time, closing time, they closed them out. So it like the thing in the fourth, right? Bam was killing us, but they switched, like, Bam was killing Reggie Perry. They switched Jeff Green on him in the fourth, and he only had 2 buckets. Uncle Jeff locked him down. Veteran, that's a grown man. But yeah, he was killing Reggie Perry. And I guess finally they made a switch. Steve Nash. Can I say something about Steve Nash, bro? I respect Steve Nash as a player. I don't respect him as a coach yet. You said something on Twitter last night, and it was I think you tweeted it right as I thought it, about him not using his timeouts. There's 2 things with Steve Nash.
I'll just cut in 3 games in a row. He's finished the games with 2 timeouts unused.
Bro, what the like, yo, I understand, just like the refs. It's a great game to watch. I would love to be in the stadium on the court watching KD, Kyrie, and Harden. But you got to help us, coach. Use those timeouts. And also, when you see a BS call like you saw right in front of your face, right in front of your bench, that ball hit Mike D'Antoni in his shoulder, and the ref was right in front of you. Like, chew him out. Chew him out. Like, I need to see Nash get fired up. I need to see Nash get ejected or something. Like even I'd rather him get a T. Kyrie got a T because, you know, he's mouthing off or whatever. But Steve Nash, I need you to know when to use your timeouts, when to call your timeouts. And I also need you to get at these refs, because with this team in a couple months, you only got like Steve Nash is like maybe 4 months to get this stuff down. Because when it comes time in these big games, that is going to be the difference. Whether Steve Nash knows when to call timeout, when to make substitutions, when to tear up the refs, when to lay off the refs, the little nuances of a game that like a head coach in the NBA is supposed to have. And I know it's his first year. I know he's a rookie coach, but damn, I wish we had a more experienced coach with all of the experience that we have. We have these players in KD, Harden, and Kyrie that are in their prime. The grown men version of him.
You mean maybe like Mike D'Antoni sitting on our bench doing who knows what? Obviously,
he's chilling, bro. He's chilling, bro. That ball came at him yesterday. That ball came at him yesterday, and he flinched. Like,
here's my thing, right? Like, if something happens to our players, Nash, that should be an automatic get in the ref's face, get ejected. Because guess what? If you get ejected, you have 2 other NBA head coaches sitting on the bench with you. The team is not going to fall off. You have people with more experience than you on your bench. Like, we know all about the fire Kenny stands from the good old days of this Nets team, but like, one thing we never had to worry about with Kenny was sticking up for his players and getting in the official's face. That man was always there, always ready to do it. And I'm looking for that from Nash. And I get it. It's early. He hasn't had, you know, all this time, you know, in practice just to sit down and like talk to other coaches. But at a certain point, it seems like almost an unnecessary variable to throw in onto this team, because like, we have all this experience, all this wealth of winning, and we throw in this rookie head coach. And like you said, all respect to him as a player, as a Hall of Famer, as one of the greatest point guards ever to play the game. We haven't seen any reason to start respecting him as a head coach because of these simple mistakes. Like yesterday, obviously we finished with without using those 2 timeouts in regulation. We also didn't use our challenge. Maybe it would have been a great time to avoid Kyrie getting 2 fouls put on him in one sequence.
You just made me think of something else. There was a play in the Miami game where Jeff Green got called for the last touch out of bounds, and it actually went off of Akpala. And we could have challenged it. It was late in the game where, like, you know, possessions matter that late in the game. And it just happened. And I was like, okay, Steve Nash either needs to be ready to challenge that, or the NBA needs to have an NFL type system where someone from New York or the booth overrules and says, wait. We're in the last 5 minutes of the game. That ball is Brooklyn ball. Award them the ball, rightfully so. Let's move on, man. Let's move on, man. I mean, we'll get your last thought in, but like, I don't want out. Like, we just won 3 games in a row. I don't want this to be a whole complainer pod.
No, it's not going to be a complainer pod. We got lots of good things to talk about. The last thing I'll say is, like, we're all gelling. We're all moving forward as a team. Soon it's going to change. Steve Nash, at the end of the day, is a winner. He's won just about almost everything you can as a player. He's going to put it together. He's going to be a good head coach. And if he's not, we got those 2 guys on the bench that are going to help him out. So we're still winning games with him as our coach. I just hope things are going to change. I have full faith in my guy. I do think things are going to change.
Yeah, things are going to change the same way that this team has to figure things out. Nash is going to figure things out. And what I will say about Nash is he's great in the post game. He's great with the media. Give him props for that. And then he's also like a player's coach. We hear that. So whatever. Like, he'll get better at that stuff. He has no choice but to get better. All right, let's wrap this thing up. The episode is coming to a close, and we have a review. Yeah, we have a review. And I think on the last pod, I joked about how my girl was reading Reddit, like Go Nets Reddit, and they were ranking the top podcasts. I got a kick out of it because I don't read reviews or replies or comments and take them like seriously, but I think they're funny, especially when my fiance is like, yeah, someone says they like Talking Nets, they don't like you. I'm like, well, good. Like, maybe they like Hudson. Maybe they're listening
Keith,
for Hudson.
I got the quotes right here. Don't worry. I found it.
Please read them.
I looked it up this morning.
I don't go in there. I mean, I'll post some things in Go Nets Reddit, but I don't go in there and read people's criticism of me.
I searched it this morning. I just wanted to see for the podcast. So someone put a post and they were like, yo, what are some good Nets pods? And a lot of you listeners came out and said Talking Nets, because you're right. And it is a good podcast. And
I listened to it.
Yeah. So in a thread where people were talking about how much they like Talking Nets, this one guy comes out, Pawnee Citizen 15.
Pawnee? You from South Jersey. Pawnee that's Pennsylvania. Pawnee is where the office is, right? Or no, Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec. That's Parks and Rec. We got our guy from Parks and Rec. I personally dislike Talking Nets, but that's just me. A lot of people do like them. They go, why? And he goes, I don't like Keith. Which, like,
because Keith is black. Because Keith talks about, I don't know, America once in a while and politics and social justice with the NBA, which that's what the NBA does. So I don't know. That's funny. All right. So let's read this review. This review comes from Farrington 231 on Tuesday. 5 stars. He writes, best around. Best period Nets period pod period hands down. Best Nets pod hands down. Hey, appreciate that. Do I have to start? I think I do have to start giving out shirts again. Hudson's on his way to the office after the pod. He'll get his gear. But check out the merch on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube. Ooh, yeah. That's the Coogee James Harden beard.
That is Anthony Puccio's personal favorite.
Yeah, Pooch hit us up like, yo.
Nets connection.
Pooch hit us up like, yo, that Coogee beard is hard. Like, yeah, bro. I literally ordered like 4 hoodies, 4 t-shirts, bunch of stuff. I'm probably gonna order more. So if you would like to get some free merch, because I know, it costs like $25. Everybody ain't got it. Write us a review, right? Write us a review, screenshot it, send it to us. Subscribe to the pod. Like, bring someone in. You got to show us like, yo, I brought my friend into Talking Nets. We wrote a review. And you got to leave a voicemail. Those are 3 things, right? Like, tag a friend to enter to win. Tag a friend in the comments. Leave us a review and leave a voicemail. Show us that you're TN fam. The TN fam, the Talking Nets fam is like, obviously me and Hudson. I would throw Billy Reinhart in there. We got to have Billy Reinhart back on the pod. John Sable, Mr. Burn notice, Dane, DBM, the beautiful monster, Dylan, we sent some stuff to. Nets Head, we sent some stuff to. Who am I forgetting? There's a lot of people that rock with us. Sarge, my guy Sarge DI. The Talking Nets fam is growing, and what I want to say next is we're gonna do some live events really soon where you can meet us and we can meet up and watch a game together. I know we're in a pandemic. I know everybody's used to staying in the crib, but things are changing. It's 2021, baby. It's time to get back out there. I have some things in the works, and Hudson and I are planning some things. So stay tuned for that. I won't give you too much details, but we can stop all of this internet stuff for a night very soon, watch a game together, do a live podcast, maybe crack a beer or two, not Hudson underage, but you know what I'm saying. The TN fam is going to start coming together in real life. Get your merch, shop.johnboymedia.com. And if you want to get some free stuff, people will tell you I've sent plenty free shirts out. Review, bring a friend into the game, and leave us a voicemail. Follow us on Twitter at Talking Nets. We're killing the game. Everybody's stealing our videos. Hudson be clipping them the fastest. We're the first ones. I edit up videos, GIFs, memes. Content is king. So we're doing our thing on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Follow us there. Make sure you follow John Boy Media, the gang, the brand across platforms. You can follow me at Keith McPherson, but if you don't like me, that's cool. Hudson Flynn, where can they follow you?
At Hudson Flynn _. But listen, if you listen to the podcast this long, we know you like us at least a little bit, right? So go out and follow the brand, because like he said, everyone's stealing our content. We're the first on it. Like, there's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If you want Nets content, if you're looking for clips, if you're looking for videos, look no further.
Yeah, we're on it. And this is a 2-man game. Oh, shout out to Twitchy too. Twitchy is part of the TN fam. He helps us out. He's made a couple videos, but for the most part, from day one to now, it's been Hudson and I making the pod, making all the content, doing everything. And we're finally really growing and killing. So what a time to be alive, Nets fans. Live event coming soon. More details on the way. The Nets play. Who do we play next? OKC.
We got the Thunder, and then
the Wizards.
The Wizards. It's going to be a homecoming tour.
Oh, Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal is going to be sick that game. Bradley Beal might have to do some load management and rest that game. Brad, take the night off. All right, that's all we got. That's 3 in a row, baby. Let's go Nets. Brooklyn.
We go hard, go hard.